to No Fly Zone Radio TV with your host, Biff Sweeney. Hi guys, welcome to No Fly Zone Radio TV. I'm your host, Biff Sweeney, and the Jets are now 2-5, coming off a win against Baltimore Ravens, a very, very poor Baltimore Ravens, and a very injury-riddled Baltimore Ravens. The game ended up 24-16 to the New York Jets. It wasn't a very good game to watch. There's a few interesting talking points in this game, but I'll start off with the defense. The defense looked hungry today. They looked more like a New York Jets defense and what they were meant to look like. They tackled well. There wasn't that many missed tackles in this game. Calvin Pryor actually was playing more in the box, and that's where he's actually very good at. That's, if you want the best out of Calvin Pryor, you play him more closer to the box or in the box. Keep him away from coverage. We had 2 interceptions with defense. We had Gilchrist with a very good interception. He ran it down to the red zone, which gave the offense a helping hand. Then you had Gilchrist as well, had a center field interception. He ran it down a good bit, gave the offense a hand as well. The defensive line looked very strong. They're back to playing a 3-4 defensive line. To be honest, with Mo out, not against Mo or anything like that, but when they're sticking to a 3-4 defense, it suits these defensive line guys more. And then you can have your linebackers in, and they're young linebackers, Jenkins, Mullen. We had a Victor Uchi sighting there as well, which was fantastic because he was one of my favourite pass rushers in the 16 draft. But the only way these young guys are going to get an experience is actually by playing football and not sitting on the sidelines looking out at the field. The defensive line and linebackers and that kept the Ravens to 10 yards in the run game, with West being the only one to get 10 yards. That's fairly good. The DBs gave up a few big plays against Wallace and Aiken. We all know Joe Flacco has a big arm, but Joe Flacco was under duress all through the game. The defensive line kept a serious pressure on him. Their offensive line was very poor. He wasn't able to crawl up the pocket, which was a good thing. I thought Molden had a good game. He got good pressure on the edge. Their left tackle, which is a rookie left tackle, he was doing nothing on a hole in Molden through the whole game. And I don't know how the referees didn't pick up on it. They only picked up on it once, I think. And that was for the big run that ended up getting Carter carried off the field with a leg injury, thigh injury, I think it was, or a quad injury. But Bruce Carter made a big tackle with about 5 yards to go, 3 yards to go on West. Ended up getting injured. Then we had Stanford come in and looked very, very good. He's an undersized inside linebacker, but he's very good, very fast. The Baltimore Ravens offense couldn't get the tight ends going either. And that was down to the likes of Stanford being able to read the game and read the tight ends, and the defensive line not giving Flacco much time to scan the field. Back to the DBs. I thought Screen played really well. Pryor in the box played really well. Gilchrist in centre field played okay, with a nice interception. Marcus Williams gave up a couple of big plays. You could see clear as day he doesn't have the catch-up speed, and he doesn't have the speed to stay with fast receivers. Personally, I think the Jets need to address this big time in the draft or the off-season after Christmas in next year, 2017. Revis was okay. He wasn't really tested, but we all know Revis. There was reports came out recently that he's unfit. He's not fit, and he came into the season unfit, which isn't good enough for a guy that's earning 17 million. It'll be interesting to see what to do with Darrell Revis after this season. Marcus Williams had the opportunity for, I think, a couple of interceptions as well. He blundered on them. Let's swap it over to the offense. Now, the offense started off with Geno Smith in this game. Geno Smith, to me, looked like he had a command of the offense. He looked good under center, which Ryan Fitzpatrick doesn't really go under center. The thing with Geno Smith in this game, their defense, the Ravens defense, had to actually watch out for Geno Smith, give him a bit of respect because he's got a big arm. And with the likes of the receivers the Jets have, he can hit them down the field. Plus, it showed in the game he can actually run as well, and he's clever at running with the ball. Now, Geno Smith gave up, I think it was a couple of sacks that came from the right side. The guy, his downfall through the years was holding on to the ball too much. To me, that's him trying to wait for something to open up to make a big play, but just he needs to get rid of the ball. If you look at the likes of Brady or Rodgers, top elite quarterbacks, they get rid of the ball if there's not none, so they don't create a sack that's going to bring the offense back more, put them in an awkward position. It ended up costing Geno Smith big time because Matt Judon, rookie pass rusher, tackled him. Geno Smith should have got rid of the ball. Now he's on IR for the season with a torn ACL. Now I feel really bad for Geno Smith because Geno Smith's done all the right things. At the off-season, he's gone and he's practiced with top guys. He's made time for his receivers. He's practiced with his receivers. He's practiced with other receivers, other quarterback coaches. He's said all the right things. He's been saying all the right things. To me, anytime he's been put in front of the media, it's all about the team. All about, like last week or the week before, he made a comment that he's itching to get out there. I'm not against that, to be honest, because he should be itching to get out there. Now, there's something I'm big against, and I'll get to that now in a minute. Afterwards, Geno Smith came out and didn't really mention much about himself. Put the team first, which I liked. And I'm sorry to say, but I think Geno Smith's career as a New York Jet now is over due to this injury, because the New York Jets were going to give him a fair shake and a fair look in this offense this season, and I just feel bad for the dude. Anyway, on to the run game. Matt Forte had 100 yards. He looked good, but I think half of that was got to do with Geno Smith as well, because this Ravens had to respect his arm. And I think it was down to the coaches as well, because the coaches didn't. I don't think the coaches believe in Fitzpatrick when he came in, because they ran an awful lot with the ball, used Forte an awful lot. Bilal Powell wasn't used. I heard he was left on the bench just in case Fitzpatrick went down. They're going to need another quarterback to come in, another guy to come in. So during the game. We had more drops from the wide receivers. Marshall didn't really do Geno Smith any favours in the game. There was one route where I think it could have been 10 yards, and then to come back to receive the ball. He stopped and didn't come back, and the ball, he would have, if he'd come back a couple of yards, he would have got a nice completion. There was another one where he was coming across the middle. He slowed down coming across the middle, and there was another drop, another big drop. 14 had 54 yards receiving as well, which is fairly good. Now you have to remember this Ravens team was riddled with injuries and they were very poor. When Fitzpatrick came in, he didn't look in any way inspiring at all. He was very uninspiring. He looked scared. He looked like he'd no confidence. He was making mistakes again. He took 3 big sacks, which were bad sacks to me, because when he was taking the sacks, he was getting the ball, staring down the receiver, and then the rush was coming up the middle. So what did he do? He ducked and ran straight into the pass rush. Instead of getting the ball, seeing the pass rush, feeling the rush, peeling out from behind and around and trying to find somebody or throw the ball away. But there was a couple of the sacks where he looked like he was actually going to tackle the pass rusher coming up the middle. Now, I thought they were very poor sacks. He gave away penalties in the red zone, which I thought was terrible, because it was bad clock management. It was he ran out the clock, and the commentators even said it that you're standing there as the quarterback. You have a big, huge clock in front of you, and right in front of him. How can he not see that clock running down? I don't know. It's the last 2 or 3 games he's after having stupid penalties against him. To be honest, I'd like to. I'd rather move on now from Fitzpatrick, because he's actually holding this offense back, and he's causing trouble with the fan base and everything. Anyway, Quincy Enunwa had a massive touchdown in the first half, with Geno Smith throwing the ball to him. I don't know if it was 10 or 15 yard throw, but it was over the middle. He made a massive play over Quincy Enunwa. An awful lot of people didn't think he had the speed in him. Coming out of college, I knew he had the speed, because he had the speed, but he was raw, and he had the drops in college. Now he's after sorting that out. He had only 2 snaps, 2 balls thrown to him, receptions, sorry, but he was kept off the field an awful lot. And to be honest, why would you keep a weapon like that off the field that much? It was stupid. You could see the passion in the guy's hands. He was holding up his hands and everything. The guy wants to play ball, and he's going to get you yardage. He's going to make plays for you. All right, let's get to special teams. The Jets went down 10-0 to the Ravens, and Geno Smith got them back into the game. But the thing is, they went down 10-0 due to a big screw up by Lachlan Edwards in the first quarter. I think it was the first quarter, and the ball was snapped to him. He hands up, went to catch the ball, went through his hands. I can't explain it. I think it was bad play by him. It was terrible, actually. Ball went back. They got a special teams touchdown, fluke. They shouldn't. To be honest, in this game, the Ravens should have probably just got the 9 points from kicking. Only for Lack Edwards screwed up, caused the Jets a touchdown against them. There was a missed field goal. I can't say it really was on Nick Folk, but I think it was the nose tackle from Ravens, Williams, I think his name is, a big dude. He busted up through the line in special teams and caused the play, caused the block punt, or the blocked kick, sorry. Anyway, let's get to the end of the game. Or at the end of the game, there was Ryan Fitzpatrick was up in the podium in front of the media, and Geno Smith was up there as well. Geno Smith basically put the team first. Fair play to him. I feel bad for what happened to him. But Ryan Fitzpatrick went up there after an uninspiring game by him. Came up. Sorry about that. Basically preached, when the owner stops believing in you, the GM stops believing in you, and the coaches stop believing in you, sometimes all you have is yourself. And he started going on about himself. Basically, he was being very selfish. Didn't put the team first. The team won. I couldn't say it was because of him, because he was very uninspiring, as I was saying. And he just wasn't good enough in the day. And I don't think he's good enough, full stop. He threw his team, he threw the organisation, his coaches, or his coach, his head coach, his GM, the owner, that got him 12 million and brought him back. And the coach, Todd Bowles, stated that Fitzpatrick was his guy and believed in Fitzpatrick, but yet Fitzpatrick had that to throw in the organisation's face and the head coach's face. Now, personally, you don't do that in my eyes. The team always comes first. There's no guy bigger than the team or the organisation. And being truthful, I'm done with Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think he's a bum. He should never have been brought back. Myself and Rich, my co-host on No Flight Zone Radio, the podcast, had stated a good few times during the summer not to bring it back, because this is what we were expecting. But as I said, I'm done with Ryan Fitzpatrick. We're facing the Browns this week on the road. The Browns are they're riddled with injuries. They're very poor. We don't know who's going to play a quarterback. There's rumours McCown's due to come back, but the thing is, the Browns are they have a good head coach. They've young guys there. Terrell Pryor is going to be a dangerous guy. Their defense is very poor against the run. I think the Jets might cause problems for the Browns there, but you look down through this season, the Browns have been in games and been holding teams to slim wins against the Browns. Another winless team, but I can't see the Jets getting a big win here now. And I think most of it's got to do with Ryan Fitzpatrick, because I don't think he's good enough. I just don't believe in the guy. I don't like the guy anymore. I did like the guy, but I think the Jets are going to get a tight win, maybe 3 points for that on the road. Go 3-5. But if they lose this game, God help Fitzpatrick. But the question is Bryce Petty's time coming? Because he's after himself and Hackenberg after getting first team reps this week, according to Todd Bowles. I'd personally like to see what Bryce Petty can do. This would be an ideal game for Bryce Petty to actually come in and show what he can do against a team like this. We've got the schedule isn't as hard as what it was, and I think it's time to see what we have in Bryce Petty, because you want to go into next season, next year, to the draft and free agency, knowing what you have on your roster at quarterback. And Geno Smith's going to be gone. Fitzpatrick's going to be gone. All you're going to have is Bryce Petty and Hackenberg. We all know Hackenberg he needs time to sit and to focus on himself. But we need to find out what the story is with Bryce Petty. Is he good enough? Or do we need to draft a quarterback or move up in the draft or whatever to get a guy? Let me know your thoughts on Bryce Petty and Fitzpatrick. Give us thumbs up on YouTube, or give us a review down below, please. Let me know what you think of the videos. You can also check out our podcast. It's on iTunes and Stitcher. It's out today as well. You can like us. You can give us a review on iTunes. You can like us on Stitcher as well. You can get me on Twitter. It's at The Jet. You can get the show on Twitter. It's at No Fly Zone Radio. We're also on YouTube. No Fly Zone Radio TV. We're on Facebook. It's at No Fly Zone Radio. You can also get my co-host at Tinley24. So let us know what you think about Petty and Fitzpatrick, and what you actually think of what Fitzpatrick said on the podium after the game and putting himself before the team. Do you think we need to see Bryce Petty now or after the bye? Alright guys, thanks for tuning in, and it's Go Jets and Sloan from me.